this one strategy of being able to raise private money for your real estate deals has had more of an impact on our real estate investing business than any other strategy that we've ever done. And when you master this way of attracting the money without ever having to ask for it, beg, sell, chase, persuade, to where the private lenders are actually chasing you, you never miss out on a deal.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Connor.
Let's talk about private money. So private money comes into so many different ways and shapes and forms. So I know that you do slightly differently. So what exactly you mean by private money? What does that structure look like for the investor?
So that's a great question. So private money, first of all, is not hard money. So hard money typically is a brokerage that has gone out and raised private money for their fund, and then the hard money lender turns around and loans that money out to real estate investors. But the way I do it is I go straight to the source. So private money is a one-on-one transaction.
Hello and welcome back to Bigger Life Podcast, where we talk to entrepreneurs, investors, and leaders building a bigger life through bold action. I'm your host, Ray Bansal. Today, we are joined by Ray Connor, also known as the Private Money Authority. Jay has been investing into real estate since 2003, has completed over $118 million in transactions. He has rehabbed over 500 homes and averages over $86,000 per deal. Hey, Jay, how are you doing today?
Hey, Ray, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you here on your show to talk about my most favorite topic that I'm so passionate about, and that's private money for real estate. The reason I'm so excited about it is because this one strategy of being able to raise private money for your real estate deals has had more of an impact on our real estate investing business than any other strategy that we've ever done. And when you master this way of attracting the money without ever having to ask for it, beg, sell, chase, persuade, to where the private lenders are actually chasing you, you never miss out on a deal. I've been investing in real estate since 2003, and 2009 is when I learned about private money. And since that time, Ray, I've never missed out on a deal for not having the funding.
Awesome. Well, we can call you the private money machine, right?
There you go. Private money machine, private money authority. You got it.
Yeah. Profit machine, right? So it's interesting time. So 2009, right? That was interesting times when the market is not so good. Investors are scared. And you started in 2009. I mean, you were doing real estate before then, but.
Yeah, I started in 2003. From 2003 until January of 2009, the only thing I knew to do, Ray, to get my deals funded was just go to the local bank or call up the mortgage company and apply for a traditional loan. That's all I knew to do. But everything changed in January 2009 when I was cut off from the bank.
Quickly, let's talk about private money. So private money comes into so many different ways and shapes and forms. So when people talk about raising money, they usually talk about a fund, a syndication, or hard money loans. So I know that you do slightly differently. So what exactly you mean by private money? What does that structure look like for the investor?
So that's a great question. So private money, first of all, is not hard money. So hard money typically is a brokerage that has gone out and raised private money for their fund, and then the hard money lender turns around and loans that money out to real estate investors. But the way I do it is I go straight to the source. So private money is a one-on-one transaction between the real estate investor, the borrower, and an individual, an ordinary person just like you and me, that has what I call lazy money. They either have investment capital and or they have retirement funds. And I call it lazy because it's not working. It's not performing as well as it could. Private money is you're doing business directly with that individual. Now, all of the borrowing that we do is called asset-backed debt. So each private lender, and the slang for that is called one-offs. So we'll have a private lender, maybe two or three private lenders that are funding a deal, a single family house, might be a duplex, triplex, quadplex, whatever. But that private lender gets their own promissory note, and we're not borrowing money unsecured. We're backing that note with a deed of trust. Here in North Carolina, most states call it a mortgage. So we're collateralizing the note to where the private lender has collateral, to where they just don't have a promissory note. So if I don't pay them, the property does. That's their legal recourse, right? They get the property if I don't pay them, which they would actually make more money in that case if we did that. But again, it's a one-on-one transaction and it's asset-backed debt. That private lender is not loaning money out unsecured.
Before we go any further, so how is this different from syndications? Because within syndications, you have the same model, right? So you go to your investors, raise money for their syndication, and that syndication owns the asset underneath it. So how is your model different from the syndication? And the second part to it is, for syndication, you have to get registered with SEC and all that stuff. And how are you doing it without, because I believe this does not need registration, right, with SEC. So how are you doing it? Is this even legal? Let's put it this way.
Yeah. So, yeah, the SEC does not regulate asset-backed debt. So if you're doing a syndication, you're raising money most of the time for a fund. So the fund, I mean, it's sort of like investing in the stock market. Like, you got a stock certificate, but there's no like legal recourse that protects the investor when investing in a syndicated fund. So this is very different. This is not syndication. So the investor, or the private lender, I should say, is not investing in a fund, right? They're not sharing any kind of equity or profit on the back end. Think of the private lender as the bank. They know exactly what the interest rate's going to be. I've been paying my private lenders 8% annual percentage rate ever since February of 2009. And so they know it's like the private lender sort of like thinks about it's like putting it in the bank in a certificate of deposit. You know what the interest rate is. You know exactly what you're going to earn off of that investment. And that's the way it works here in this model.
So why not bank? So if I can raise, like you said, 8%, now the interest rates are a little bit higher, but there were times when the interest rates were much lower in the market, right, from a traditional bank. Now I understand there are products for people like us, for investors, where when you cannot qualify for a traditional mortgage, you can get the DSCR loan at 80% loan to value or 90, even 85 LTV. Why private money, and maybe not why, but what are the benefits of maybe going to a private lender versus going to a bank who can give me 85% LTV at a better interest rate than the private lender?
Oh, sure. Well, there's actually 20 reasons that I love private money, but I'll give you the big ones. So first of all, there's no limit to the number of private lenders you can have. There's no limit to the amount of private money. If you're doing business with the banks or mortgage companies, there's a limit. So you can scale. Another big reason is speed to close. So all of our offers, we offer that we can close within 7 days. And, all the properties that we buy these days, ever since COVID, is directly from for sale by owners. I haven't found a deal in the multiple listing service in 5 years. but we buy all of our homes what's called off market. So we'll make our offers to close in 7 days. Well, those people that are occupying those properties, those houses, they can't move out in 7 days, but we'll go ahead and close within 7 days, give them half of their proceeds at closing in 7 days. And then whatever we agree on, they can stay in the house for free until, 30 days, 60 days, whatever we agree on. And then they get the other half of their proceeds when they are out of the house. But anyway, speed to close is a big one. Access to it. Access to the money is huge. And, as of today, when we're doing this show, commercial rates at the local bank for single family houses, like long-term landlord loans, are more than 8% today. So I'm actually paying less. And here's another big one. There's no points. There's no fees. There's no origination fees. And the reason is there's no broker. There's no broker to pay that is in between the private lender and us, who are borrowing it. Your credit score. Your credit score has got nothing to do with how much private money you can raise. That's because it's a collateral-based loan. So your credit score has got nothing to do with it. And there's other reasons, but those are the big ones right there.
So what's your business model? So you got two pieces to it, right? So you're raising money from private money, and then you're finding these deals. Since you said you're not buying these deals off of MLS, and you're buying off market. So you're buying, what are you doing? Direct to mail, or calls, or driving for dollars? So what's your strategy on the deal side?
Sure. So we do a lot of Google paid ads and Facebook. So I've got 7 different vendors that I pay per lead. So I'm not paying per click on Google. I'm paying per lead. So they do all the marketing and they just provide us the leads. And Facebook, I just did a deal yesterday. Came in on a Facebook lead. So I run Facebook ads, or my team does, every day. We also do direct mail. We direct mail every family that is facing foreclosure and offer to put money in their pocket to help them get back on their feet. And so we serve a lot of people that are facing foreclosure. Also pre-probate. So we do a lot of direct mail to families that have lost a loved one that we possibly can serve them as well. And those are the primary sources that we have for getting motivated seller leads. I've done a lot of outbound calling that I've had services do that for me as well, which has been very, very fruitful along with our other marketing methods.
Once you got a lead from these different sources and you qualify it, you buy it. So what does usually happen? On the lending side, you got the money arranged. On this side, you already got the terms and conditions of the deal arranged. You sign the dotted line. You bought the home. What is your usual business model from there?
Yeah. So most recently in the past few years, since COVID anyway, we've been renovating most of these houses and then selling them for top retail value. However, when I buy a property subject to the existing note, which means the seller agrees to leave that mortgage in their name and I make the payments, then we'll sell those houses typically on terms, sell it on lease purchase, collect a large non-refundable lease option deposit, and give the lease purchase buyer or tenant buyer time to get mortgage ready to where they can cash us out.
Are you primarily into like buying and selling, or are you also into holding the properties?
Well, the ones that I hold are the ones that I sell on lease purchase. So I'm not holding any. Well, I take that back. I've got one very, very lucrative short-term rental, Airbnb, which I know you are a expert on that as well. But it's actually my grandparents' farmhouse that they built in 1929. And year before last, I did a $150,000 renovation on it, turned it into a beautiful short-term rental with beadboard ceilings, and it's just gorgeous. And just last year, it brought in almost $100,000, right, in revenue just on that one. But typically the houses that we're investing in, we're either going to flip them and sell them out for retail, or we're going to sell them on terms, lease purchase, and then cash out once the buyer is ready for a mortgage.
Let's talk two different models, right? So let's talk on the private money side of those things first. So how are you finding your people, your lenders, your private money, lazy money people?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then they can make more money on the stock market, maybe,
Well, that's a great question, because I've had 47 private lenders. You know what's interesting, Ray? Not one of them had ever heard of private money, private lending. They'd never heard of self-directed IRAs and how they can move their retirement funds over to a self-directed IRA and then become a private lender. They never heard about it until I put on my teacher hat, which says private money teacher. So I view myself as leading with a servant's heart, educating people on the opportunity. None of them had ever heard of this opportunity. So I've put on luncheons where I'd invite people to come to a luncheon, have 20 people or so, and have my attorney, my CPA, my realtor there, and teach the opportunity. So they all get the same thing. Like what's the interest rate? 8% annual percentage rate. How are they protected? What's the length of the note? Frequency of payments? How can they get their money back in case of an emergency before the note comes due? And I teach all that. And something that's really, really important is separating the conversation between having a deal for them to fund and the opportunity. Because if I bring up a deal in the initial conversation, I'm already sounding desperate without even trying to sound desperate. Desperation has a smell to it. People can tell the worst time to be raising private money is when you need it for a deal. That's why I practice and preach the money comes first. Get the money lined up. Ray, you've probably heard the guru on stage say something to the effect of, just get the deal under contract. The money will show up.
No, yeah, I agree. The money has to be there. The deal will come, right? So
yeah, so
it's a chicken and an egg story. Sometimes you need to have a deal, and then you'll find that money. But I think you need to have money too.
Yes. So there's three categories of where private lenders come from. There is first your own network, your own warm market, people in your cell phone, right? People that are in your social circle. You go to church with them. You see them at the Rotary Club. You play golf with them, etc. There's your professional circle. Who's your CPA? Who's your attorney? These people are gatekeepers of other people that have money, and they can refer to you. And then that's what I call your expanded warm market. Well, if you want to scale your business, sooner or later, you're going to run out of your own contacts, right? So how can you expand your network? Well, Business Networking International is a great way to do that, BNI. And you join your local BNI chapter. And that whole organization is about sharing leads with each other and each other's members. And then the third category of where you find private lenders is what's called existing private lenders. These are people that are already loaning money out to real estate investors, individuals, not institutional money. And you can find these people at self-directed IRA networking events. Did you know over 70% account holders at self-directed IRA companies want to loan money out to real estate investors? They want to be a passive investor and just get mailbox money is what they want to do. So those are primarily the three categories as to where you find private money.
I like that, the last one, self-directed IRA networking events. Never thought about that.
Yes.
Usually you're thinking they are coaching you how to set up the account, but yeah, you can use it to your advantage where you can find the lenders. Yeah, awesome. On the deal side, I think you mentioned you have a team. So what's your team size looking like to qualify those deals And with so many deals, with so many moving components, the coaching, the teacher hat, raising the money, to sending all this direct mails and finding off-market deals, negotiating those deals, buying those deals, then renovating it, fixing and flip, and all that. How do you manage it? So how's Jay's day look like, and what kind of teams you got? And so walk us through that process.
Sure. Well, the automation process, the system are so critically important to where you can run your business instead of letting your business run you. So let me break that down. As far as the people goes, I have a full-time acquisitionist. Her name is Kim. She's been with us now for 18 years, and she works out of her home. And it's her job to talk to all the sellers. She talks to all the sellers. Now, how she finds out about the sellers, and this is critically important, and that is our software, our CRM. So all the leads, all the motivated seller leads that we get come into our CRM, and if it's a Google ad, they automatically go into the CRM. If they're a Facebook ad, they automatically go into the CRM. If they respond to our direct mail, well, guess what? The phone number on the direct mail is our AI assistant. Her name is Bailey. Bailey answers the phone and identifies herself as our AI assistant. And she asks permission to ask them some questions. So that entire transcript, when Bailey answers the phone, the AI assistant, that entire transcript for that seller lead goes into the notes section of our CRM. Kim, the acquisitionist, her job is to get them on the phone. Well, Bailey's job is to go ahead and set the appointment. So out of every 4 calls that Bailey receives from our direct mail, she sets 3 out of 4 calls an appointment, a telephone appointment for Kim. And the AI assistant tells them to expect to get a phone call at that time, at that appointment, from Kim, the acquisitionist. So then Kim gets all the information from the seller and then puts that information in the CRM. The CRM then notifies me I've got a lead to review. So I go in the CRM, I look at the summary of that lead, and then I decide if I want to get one of our local realtors' opinion on the after repaired value. If I decide that, I then move it over to that category, and an automatic email is then sent to the realtor asking for the after repaired value. That realtor then emails that back to me and Kim puts that in the CRM, and then I get notified it's time for me to review the realtor opinion. I review the realtor opinion, and then I decide if I want the team to go look at the property and estimate repairs. So if I decide that looks like the numbers make sense, then I move it over in the software for the team to go look. Kim gets that notification. She then sets the appointment for our realtor and my project manager to go look at the property, estimate repairs. They estimate repairs. That's then emailed to Kim. Kim puts it in the CRM. Now I've got all the information I need to make an offer. Right before coming on the show here with you, Ray, I made an offer on a property based on the after repaired value and the budget for the renovation. That's all I need in order to plug into my formula what's going to be the all cash offer. But I make more than one offer. I'll make an all cash offer. I'll make a subject to offer, and the seller can decide what they want. And so the system, the CRM. So I got Kim, the acquisitionist. I have a full-time lead manager that's in the Philippines. Her name's Trixie. She's been with us for 7 years. And Trixie's job is to make sure that none of our leads fall through the crack. None of our leads go untaken care of. So if Kim misses one of them, Trixie makes sure that Kim, needs to do, whatever with that lead. So the lead manager, Trixie, is my insurance policy to make sure we don't miss any leads. And then I have a full-time office manager. Her name's Brenda. She keeps up with the books, but that's just not for the buying and selling house business. That's for, for all of our businesses as well. And everybody else is 1099. I mean, the contractors are 1099 and all that. So We don't have a large staff at all.
So with a full-time team of 3 people and then 1099s,
Correct.
you're able, and utilizing the systems and AI and everything else, you're able to work less than 10 hours a week and manage this whole ship.
Yes. It's called dictate, delegate, and disappear.
This is great. You have other businesses. So just curious. So Jay, with this busy lifestyle or free lifestyle, what other businesses do you enjoy?
Oh, what I'm so passionate about is coaching. So I have a coaching and education company, Connor Marketing Group, that I started in 2011. And my focus is I work with real estate investors, newbies, seasoned real estate investors, and I work with them on teaching them and coaching them on how to raise their own private money. I do 3 live events a year. In fact, I got one coming up right around the corner. It's called the Private Money Conference. And if anybody wants to check that out, I'd love for your audience to come to the conference at www.jayconner.com/event. That's jayconner, JAYCONNER.com/event. And we have people come from all over the nation for these events to really learn how to raise that private money.
All righty. So let's shift to next segment, which is kind of like lessons from the field. So what is the biggest mistake that you see that either you have made in your life that you think if you knew better, or as you're coaching other investors that you mostly see that people make early on into their investing journey? And this is for the people like you and I who are real estate professionals and not the private money side.
Sure. So it all comes down to the mindset. So there's a bridge between knowledge and implementation, right? And so in this world of private money, the correct mindset is you're not chasing money. It all comes from having an attitude of having a servant's heart. You know, when I'm visiting with a new potential private lender, I'm not looking to raise money out of that initial conversation. My only intention is to leave them with more value, more knowledge than they had prior to the conversation. And one way that I implement this servant's heart is I just view myself as diagnosing if they have a problem. You know, like if I'm talking with you, Ray, and I just simply, ask you a question of, well, by the way, Ray, in this market these days, are you getting a really good return on your investment, either with your liquid capital or your retirement funds? And you say, yeah. I mean, just last year, I got 15% in the stock market. Well, I just diagnosed you don't have a problem, or you don't perceive you have a problem. So I'm not going to even talk with you about the private lending opportunity that I have. But if you sigh and say, well, yeah, I mean, my 401k is going nowhere, or I'm only earning, 3% in the local bank. Well, I just diagnosed you got a problem, and I might be able to offer you a solution. So it comes down to the mindset, right? Nothing happens until you take action, and you want to, and like I said, with my teacher hat, I just view myself as sharing valuable information with people that can make a difference in their lives. And another thing that I discovered early on was the private lenders. These people, they need us as much, if not more, than we need them. And here's why. There's more money out there than there are deals, to tell you the truth. And my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we have received handwritten thank you notes in the mail as being a part of changing people's retirement years by introducing them to this world of private money. It's all about serving. It's the mindset. It's the mindset. And, and another thing that I know new capital raisers feel is they have a fear of rejection. And so here's my answer to that fear. How can you be fearful of anything, of rejection, if you're not asking anybody for anything? You're not asking them. You're giving them knowledge. You're sharing an opportunity, and you don't ever have to ask them for the money. I mean, you share the opportunity, and I'm going to give my book away, by the way, before we get off the show, Where to Get the Money Now. And then the book, it shares the entire opportunity that I share with new potential private lenders. And so there is no fear of rejection because you never have to ask them for money.
The real estate investors, they are looking for deals off market. And what is the one thing that you'll tell them to do or not to do?
When they're looking for off market deals,
yeah,
you want to meet the owner of that property, the potential seller of that property, where they are. And you can't meet them where they are until you diagnose, again, what's their problem? Do they have a problem? And, my favorite question to ask a potential seller is, well, tell me about your situation. And when you say, tell me about your situation, they could talk about the property. They could talk about their personal situation that they have going on. But whatever they talk about, that is their hot spot that I want to circle back around to as to be offering a solution to relieve that stress and relieve that pain. People make decisions on everything they do for one of two reasons. They either want to move towards pleasure or they want to run away from pain. And everybody that we're talking to is trying to get out of the pain that they have. So we want to offer the solution to get them out of that pain.
You have automation. You also have team where you are delegating the stuff. What works better and what breaks? Automation, if you have a new task, would you go for automation or would you go for delegation?
So it depends on what it is. So like when we first started using this software, we started using it probably 6 or 7 years ago. I was very much in it, very much hands-on, because I wanted to see what that felt like and how it worked. And were there some kinks in it that needed to be worked out. And then as soon as I got totally happy with it, then I delegated it out. And so now I'm only in the software once I am notified that there's some new information about that property that I need to make a decision on. But the only thing that I want to be involved in for the long term is what I really, really enjoy. And that's what automation is all about. Do what you love to do and delegate out the rest. And if you've got a good business model, then you're able to finance and pay your team members, pay for the marketing and et cetera, without you having to be working, 60 hours a week.
Interesting book that you have read.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So the name of the book is Where to Get the Money Now. It's a national bestseller. The subtitle is How and Where to Get Money for Your Real Estate Deals Without Relying on Traditional or Hard Money Lenders. And the book is $20 on Amazon, but don't spend $20 there. The book is free. Let me give you the book for free. Just cover a couple of bucks for shipping and handling. I'll autograph the book. I'll rush it out. And you can pick up the book at www.jayconner.com/book. And I'll rush it out to you, 3-day express delivery through the postal service. And I'm also going to include 2 tickets to the upcoming Private Money Conference. And you can go ahead and check all that out at jayconner.com/event. And so that's the book. And in addition to that, another free gift, Ray, for your audience is I recently wrote what's called my $1 Million Private Money Script Collection. There's 12 different scripts in the collection. And I'd love to give away the first script, which is called the Curiosity Opener Script. A lot of real estate investors say, how do I start a conversation about private money? And your listeners can download that first script, that PDF, for free at www.jayconner.com/scripts. And that's plural, jayconner.com/scripts. And that'll give you the PDF that you can download right there absolutely for free.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for leaving those gifts for the audience. I'm sure the audience can make very good use of it. I appreciate that. And thanks for sharing your story and how you're doing it. You have been very candid about it. I appreciate you sharing your processes.
Yes. Ray, thank you so much for having me on, and I'm so glad to share. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, and to our audiences, if you found value in this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this conversation with someone who's serious about building bigger life through real estate. And we'll see you next week with another episode. Thank you.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/moneyguide. That's jconner.com/moneyguide. And download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.